Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Face the Truth, the Corona episode. We are all trapped in our homes right now for good reasons, and I'm too afraid to go outside right now. I don't know about you, but I'm afraid. No, I'm not afraid, but I am afraid. Slightly. I'm slightly afraid, but I'm not. It's okay. I'm not nervous at all. Oh, I don't feel good. Anyways. Yes, this is a special thrown together really quick last minute episode, and I thought it'd be really fun to talk with my friend. I've been on his podcast a couple times. His podcast is awesome, and we all are kind of like locked inside right now. So what better thing to do than to talk and hang out and have a good time? Yeah. So you know what? Let's just get into it. Everyone, please welcome Josh Breckenridge.
What's up?
Actually, you know what? I screwed that whole thing up. Let's try it again. I'm gonna try another intro here because I just remembered I want to show some of Josh's music, just so you guys can hear some of his music real quick. So let's try that again. I'm gonna play his music. I'm gonna say welcome Josh, and then I'm gonna play his music, and then you guys can hear his music, and then we'll get into it. Okay? So everyone, please welcome Josh Breckenridge. There we go. So that was awesome. I love that music, my friend.
Thank you.
Cool. And you told me that was actually done for like video game music.
Yeah. So these days, I'm not as big of a touring musician as I used to be. I'm doing a lot more composing and stuff like that from home. So I'm writing a lot of stuff for indie video games and TV and film and whatnot. So what that is it's that one's not for a client. That's why I sent that one over. It's just kind of like a personal thing I was doing yesterday. That's why it's called Into the Depths, because we're in the shit right now.
I like it though. It sounds awesome. Oh, thanks, by the way, man. I've got a it's been an interesting morning here, by the way.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what happened to your finger.
I got a Finding Nemo Band-Aid, because I have a 2-year-old, and now I was cutting a tomato and sweet. It's nice. But that's nothing. This morning, my wife, I feel so bad for her.
Did you taste your blood?
Yeah. Well, that's another story. No, but she this morning she was cooking and she went to pour like the grease from the bacon into a paper plate and had an accident, and she dumped the whole thing of hot grease all over her hand, her entire hand. Yeah, so it was a pretty crazy morning this morning. So she's got her hand all wrapped up right now, and it's kind of starting to blister now. I feel so bad. Yeah, so it's been a crazy morning. Like literally at when this happened, like no joke, she's cooking. Our fire alarm is going off in the house, and it's an annoying one because like it goes off for anything. There was slight smoke from the bacon. I'm down the hall. My daughter's like screaming. I'm like taking a pillow and I'm like to the ceiling trying to do the thing to get it to stop. And then I come back in the kitchen and my wife's like telling Sienna to stop doing this one thing and she won't stop. And then all of a sudden the fire alarm goes off again. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? I run down, start doing it again. And all of a sudden as I'm coming back, I hear my wife go like just scream like bloody murder. I'm like, what's going on? I go in and she's like, there's bacon grease all over the floor everywhere, and she's screaming, and I'm like, oh man.
Don't you kind of feel like right now, even if you had lopped your fucking finger off, you wouldn't want to go to a hospital? Like,
Yeah,
I feel like even if I was cutting a tomato, I'd just be like, you know what? I don't really need that finger.
First thing
I still look dope with 3 fingers.
First thing I said was, do we have any super glue? You know,
Right.
that's the first thing I wanted, super glue. We didn't. I can't believe we don't have any super glue, but I just wrapped it up really tight. It stopped, but it's fine. But yeah, it was a crazy morning, man. And like, luckily, 2 of my sister-in-laws are nurse practitioners, so right away, like, what do we do? And so they told us what to do. And I did have to run to Walgreens to get some stuff, which makes me nervous because there's like sick people there. But I'm not as worried, you know.
You know what we did? So my wife's in medical as well, and so we have Dermabond on hand all the time because we have 2 sons, and they're perpetually just destroying each other and slicing each other up. It's basically a bloodbath in my house. So we bought Dermabond, and I guess if you get the veterinary kind, it's cheaper. So I use dog glue on my kids when they slice themselves.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Who knows what chemicals are in that? I mean, I'm sure they don't make it as well, but it's cheaper, you know. So,
yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think it's ironic because like I said, my brother's wife is like practically a doctor, and a nurse practitioner, but she does all kinds of crazy things. She works for a few different places, and super awesome, super smart. She's the one I called this morning, and she told me exactly what to do, what to get, and everything. And but her being a doctor, I don't know if it's just that or just weird luck or whatever. But my brother's 3 kids, they're the coolest, sweetest little things, but they're always getting hurt. My brother's always sending me pictures like, oh, Annie banged her head into this or something, you know. But their whole thing right away, super glue.
Yeah,
she's a nurse practitioner. She's like, super glue that, just like fix
that shit. Yeah. I mean, having boys, it's literally, it's like fucking WrestleMania in here, dude. Like, I literally walked in my kid's room once, and my older one had the younger one up, like the way that Hulk Hogan had Andre the Giant up at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
He's like, you're gonna get slammed, dude.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, my brother and I used to beat the crap out of each other, man. Like badly. Yeah.
I met him once, man. He came at me all the time as a kid because I was younger, and he bullied me for a while, and then I wised up and I realized that if I grabbed something, I could fucking settle the score. So I got a hold of one of those, you know, those little shovels like for the fireplace behind you that cleans the thing. Man, I got one of those. I fucking wailed on Joe. It's like, I just took out 7 years of aggression on him.
I think that's a younger brother thing because I'm the older brother, and we would wrestle and we would punch each other. I mean, kidney shots, like anything you can think of. Dude, I mean, there was one time I drug him outside in the snow, and I just shoved his head into the snow for a while and started punching him, suffocating him and punching him at the same time. We would just be brutal, but there was a rule for me. There was a rule. It was I never hit in the face. That was my rule. I just couldn't bring myself to punching him in the face. But my brother is the younger. This is why I'm asking. I think maybe it's something you can relate with. But there was no rule for that for him. I mean, whenever he could, he'd hit me in the face. He'd throw things at my face.
Being a younger brother, you're always the one that's getting your ass kicked. My brother to this day has what looks like a third nipple. I just saw it when we were on tour. I'm in a band with my brother, by the way. In the center of his chest, it looks like a third nipple because he was chasing me, man. And this was, you know, we grew up in the 80s where you were allowed to play with guns that looked like real guns and shit before it got all PC. I had this rifle that had like a bayonet on the end, and he came around the corner, and I knew he was going to get me. So I just fucking laid into him, dude. And he immediately, when I did it, he just looked at me like in shock and disbelief. And he looks down at his chest, and just this beam, this little dribble of blood comes down. And I thought I killed my brother, man. He fell down, he screamed and he cried. He didn't fuck with me for like a week because of that. But to this day, he has a third nipple. You can still see it. It's hilarious.
Thankfully,
I wonder if his wife thinks it. You think?
Yeah, it's like this is like, secretly he thanks you.
Yeah, he's like, thank you.
This is her thing.
Thank you, Josh.
I did something terrible to my brother. You just reminded me of, and it's so my brother for years. I think I don't think he's forgiven me yet, but for years he insisted that I did this on purpose to be super mean. But to be the honest truth was I was being really stupid. I just wasn't thinking. I didn't think it through. I didn't realize it was going to actually do something that bad. And we were home alone a lot, and 'cause our parents worked different jobs and stuff, so we were just home alone. And my dumbass took a fork and lit it over the stove until it turned to orange. And my brother wasn't wearing a shirt. And I said, touch it. And he goes, no. And I just went, fine. And I went right on his chest.
You fucking branded your brother?
I did.
Like cattle. Cattle.
Yeah. But see, I didn't, all I thought was this is going to be really hot and it's going to be funny. I didn't think he would have a fork imprint on his chest for like literally, I mean, maybe 10 years or so. He had a white fork on his chest.
What was that show when we were kids? Oz?
I got so much trouble, man.
Was it Oz where the white supremacist guy like branded the dude's butt because he was his bitch? I feel like he just branded your little brother.
Thankfully, he doesn't have it anymore. But and then right, it was funny because I remember I was trying to call my parents right away, and he was like, "You're just trying to call to get out of trouble." And I'm like, "No, I'm in trouble.
No, for sure I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble. I'm calling because I'm freaking out because of course it started bleeding and everything." And
oh man,
yeah, that was really stupid.
I just picture your parents like on the other end of that phone call. Your dad's like, "Hey," and you're like, "I branded my brother. He's fucking branded now."
Oh, I feel terrible. It was so stupid, man. It was so dumb.
In the town I grew up in, kids did that for fun. I lived in a meth town in the middle of the desert where kids like I distinctly remember this kid John that every day he'd be like, "Come over and hang out with me and my sister." And then I'd come over to his house and he'd be like, Come down under the bridge and let's have some paint together. And I'm like, no, man, I'm not going to do that. Like I'm smart. And so we would go under the bridge and him and his sister would huff paint. And then he'd try to get me to hook up with his sister. And that was kind of the reality of where I grew up. That's why I started doing music. There's nothing to do. You either do meth, get someone pregnant, or learn how to play an instrument. Right.
So when did you start playing in bands? Like how young was this? Was this like 15, something like that?
Well, I mean, technically, so I started, noodling with music when I was real young, probably like 4-5 years old. Like I always liked it. My mom would always play Elvis CDs, and my mom listened to a lot of old soul, R&B, and my dad listened to Johnny Cash, like behind you there, Zeppelin, stuff like that. So I grew up listening to a lot of music. My dad was a drummer, and my uncle was a guitar player. So when I was real little, my uncle in the middle of the desert, he had this trailer and it was filled with music instruments. And so I'd go over there when I was probably like 10 and he'd basically, get stoned and be like, "Hey, play this rhythm over and over again." And I just play rhythms while he would just solo blues solos over it, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Hendrix, stuff like that. And that was my introduction, was basically these family jams. So my dad would jump on drums. My uncle would play guitar. My brother would either play piano or bass, and I'd play rhythm guitar, and my aunt would play piano or sing, and we would just jam. And then in high school, or not even high school, probably eighth, ninth grade, was when I started seeking out, people to form bands with and whatnot. And at that time, I was heavily into like Smashing Pumpkins, like stuff like that, and I wanted to do. Grunge music. I think that was what was in at the time. Grunge and I liked, the 80s, groups like Duran Duran and stuff like that, The Cure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joe Leary that I do the podcast with, he was actually in my first band. So we're now going into our 40s with kids. And we've been doing music together that long. Like I've been doing music since I was 13. And my brother and I split off. He was always singing in other bands and I was singing in other bands. We were both like frontmen in different bands. And then as we got older, we started working together. So my first band with my brother was like in my mid to late 20s probably. But I was touring with Joe Leary when I was 17 years old. We were, taking a van for weekend trips out to Hollywood and playing shows from Arizona, driving to Texas to do like South by Southwest and things like that when we were, teenagers. And then, we had a brief time where we were going to go to college. He was going to go to art school, and he did for a little while. And then he was an art school dropout, and I was going to school for photography, and I dropped out. And then we just went right back to touring in bands. And during that time, it was punk bands. We were in these like hardcore punk bands for years. And then eventually I got sick of being in Arizona. It was that whole big fish, small pond thing. It was like I'd been in a band that was on the radio. I had played all these shows, like sold out shows and stuff, and still had no career. So I moved to Hollywood at that point by myself with a couple friends. And Leary stayed behind to go back to art school and drop out of art school a second time. And when I went to Hollywood, I kind of split off. I went to recording school during that time. I worked in studios. I started composing. Back then I was writing by myself, writing for film and whatnot. Then started the band we're in now, or kind of in now. We're not super active right now, whenever I moved back to Arizona. So yeah. That was a long answer for a short question, and I apologize.
It's okay. We've got time.
We got plenty of time.
That's awesome, though. Yeah. That's cool. I mean, I really like you guys just released a record. Was like a month ago or 2 months ago now? Can't remember exactly when it was.
I think I have a copy. I don't know if it'll come into focus. Probably not.
Just your hand is for some reason.
Yeah.
With our arms to the sun.
Yeah.
But it's really awesome. You guys sent me. I don't know if I got the final album, but you sent me like. I don't think
so. I need to mail you a CD. I don't know why I haven't done that yet.
Oh, that would be awesome, man. I would love that.
I'll send one out, definitely.
But you sent me. I think you were like almost wrapping it up or something. But it was good, man. It was really cool. The one thing I like about it is, it's like really heavy. Which I don't listen to heavy music that often as much as I used to, but I still enjoy it every once in a while. Like every once in a while, like I want to listen to like Tool or something, and just like, and the one thing I like about what you guys are doing, or what I heard, was they're long songs.
Yeah,
they're almost like they're like heavy, almost operatic, like build up, and even though it's heavy, it's got sort of a soothiness to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that comes from the film and video game score thing. So Joe Leary and I both love that kind of music, and so does Joe. Like Leary loves like the Skyrim soundtrack, and I love the music in like Game of Thrones and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
And I remember like even when I was going to recording school, I was listening to like the Requiem for a Dream soundtrack and the Pi 3.14 soundtrack and video game soundtracks like Silent Hill and Final Fantasy and stuff. So when we started this group, originally it was just an instrumental band, and it was basically kind of like heavy video game music, and we got classified as post rock or whatever, but that's just what people do. But yeah, it's always been long songs,
Yeah.
It's always been, yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool.
We were in commercial bands for years, trying to make a hit, so to speak. And I gave up on that a long time ago, man. I'm old and fat now. I have kids. Like, nobody's going to dump $2 million into me and put me on stage and Taylor Swift me out. That's not going to happen. So now I just make whatever I want.
Just make cool music. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's I think it's awesome, man. It's really cool. I mean, I haven't really gotten to hear the new Tool record yet. Have you heard it yet?
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I keep hearing like this, like almost that similar vibe, that it's like super heavy, but like kind of like soothing, and it's long, like a really long like songs, and it kind of just goes one into the other, kind of. I don't know, I haven't heard it yet, but kind of reminds me a little bit of what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that they're another band that when I hear their music, I feel like they're kind of based in kind of classical music. Their songs sound a little more like orchestrations than they do like a typical rock song. So I'll take that comparison. I like them a lot. We played with them at one point. I mean they're a legit band for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love I haven't listened. So that's one of those things, if like I said, like yesterday I was like, man, I gotta figure out something to listen to right now. I didn't feel like listening to. I'm getting tired of hearing all the news and all the crazy crap, and a lot of times when I'm in my studio working, I like to listen to podcasts and stuff. But I was like in the mood for music, and I couldn't think of anything, and then for some reason I just was like, Clearwater. You know that I haven't heard that for a while.
Yeah, that's some good shit to throw on.
And I mean, literally, I don't know why that popped in, and I listened to them for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
heard some songs because I got an Alexa for my mom for Christmas. Don't turn on. You don't turn on. She thought about it. I could see her lightening up a little bit.
Yeah, that happens in my house all the time.
And but I love it because like I just put in Creedence Clearwater and songs I never even heard. You know, it was really cool. I was just like, oh, this is a cool song, man. Yeah. But yeah,
I dig on some Creedence, man. I think they're great.
I mean, yeah, they're awesome, man. They're really, really good. Excuse me. I was gonna say, Tool is one of those bands though that like if I want, you know what's funny about it? Every time I listen to Tool, I think of getting tattooed because I swear to God, every time I go,
tattoo shop you go to, they're playing it. Yeah, I can see it. That's funny. I feel that way about the Misfits.
Oh yeah, Misfits too. Like there's definitely like a tattoo soundtrack. You know.
Yeah.
You know the band Chevelle.
Mm-hmm.
I used to like years ago. My band, like, I remember they just got signed to was it Beanie? What's his name? We were making fun of them and calling them Beanie Babies, and they were getting really annoyed. Albini?
Oh, Steve Albini.
Steve Albini, yeah. They like just got signed to him, and it's like
he lives out in your area too.
Yeah. And we had my band had like a weekend with Chevelle. Like we were playing, I think, a couple shows with them or something like that. And they were just getting to that point where they were getting huge. But they were also at the point where small punk bands like us still got to open up for them for a weekend.
Yeah.
And so we, it was just funny. We didn't care that they were getting huge. We just were like relentless punks to them. And we made fun of them. It was so much fun because, first of all, they did this thing where it was always at the end of, I think, song one, or I think it was at the end of song one, they'd all take their shirts off at the end of the song. And
That's so hot.
Like they were, yeah, like, oh, we're so hot. We have to all, but it happened every single show. So we knew this was like a thing. And so I think we did it at one show, making fun of them. And we kept calling them the Beanie Babies because they just got signed to Steve Albini, and it was just hilarious because at the time we looked at them as equals and we're just having fun. We're just busting balls. That's what you do. You have fun when you're on tour and stuff. And then like shortly after, all of a sudden they went from that to just like huge, like
platinum.
Yeah. Now they're taking their shirt off in stadiums. Like just watch. He's gonna take his shirt off. There they go. There you go.
I met one of them when we played Riot Fest in Chicago in, I don't remember what year. It was like 2016 maybe. And I met someone introduced me to one of their band members. He had a shirt on though. Although I wish it was off now, Yeah.
It's so funny.
When you said that, I was going to take off my shirt just now. But it's so fucking cold in my garage right now that it's not worth the bit.
Yeah, we had a drummer in our band that would do that every single show. He would, at a certain point, I'd look back and like, oh, his shirt's off. And it's always that certain time. And then I had another drummer in a different band that it was funny when he would come to band practice, he would literally take off everything except for his underwear, and he wore whitey tighties. So for band practice, he would just be in his whitey tighties the whole time.
Why doesn't that surprise? That sounds like every drummer I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, it's kind of yeah. Is it your experience that drummers are always late too? Like they're just.
It's my experience. It's my experience that aside from lead singers, drummers are the least reliable human beings on the planet. I'm the wrong guy to ask. I think in every band I've been in, we've had like 15 drummers. So I don't have a very high opinion on drummers. Yeah. I just look for somebody that can play in time and can record to a metronome, and that is somewhat easy to get along with and actually shows up to the tours. But typically I hire someone. In this band, we've done hired guns for every tour. And for the albums, Joe Leary and I do the drums ourselves. for the most
Okay.
part. Yeah.
See, I'm like the typical guitar player guy in the band where like I am like sort of a perfectionist, like everything's got to be perfect, everything's got to be super tight. I'm at band practice early, and I don't care if we practice for 3 hours,
Me
4
too.
hours. I want it to be like, especially if you're like in the groove and it's like, oh, let's just keep rocking,
Yeah.
I can't stand when I mean, I haven't played in bands for years now, but I always couldn't stand when you can tell when someone's not into it. They don't want to be there. And it's like, dude, this is awesome. Let's keep rocking, man. And you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, you're just
people don't realize how fucking impossible it is to keep a band together. They really don't. Like people come to us all the time and they're like, how do you and your brother and Joe Leary still talk to each other after fucking 20 years? And it's like, honestly, well, we just have a long history, but also we've been through all that stuff. We've had fallouts over girlfriends. We've had fallouts over, one person is drinking too much. We've been through all that. It's just we're old now,
Yeah.
But it's part of why even when there's slow times with the band I'm in now, I don't put myself out there because I can't deal with the ego. I do not want to step into a room full of douchebags. I just don't, man. I'm too old. I can't handle it.
Well, I think, it's not just that you're old. You're not old. It's that you have experienced enough of this where it's not a big deal anymore. And if you are making a big deal out of it, it's because you don't know shit and you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't experienced it. And it's annoying for us who have,
that's a great way to explain it. Like, I think that for me, it's like whenever I meet musicians, that are like, hey, could you play on a record or could you do this? Yeah, sure. What's your goal? Oh, we want to get signed. And that's when I know they're inexperienced because I've been signed. And let me tell you right now, dealing with a record label is fucking awful. Like if you think if you little musicians out there, they're listening to Jason's show. If you want to get signed, dude, just quit because that's a bad goal. Really bad goal.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. Like I kind of lucked out in that regard because the bands that I was in, I had plenty of my own bands and most of those were just for fun, like we played shows and stuff, but it wasn't, actually one of my most favorite bands I was ever in was just before I ended up kind of not playing music again, like in an actual band, was one of the most fun bands I've ever been in my life because every one of us in the band had toured, put out records, we've done all of those different things, and we're all in different bands, and we all came together, and the chemistry was so good. We could just write really good songs and have a fun time.
Situations like that,
and we were like, and everything was going great. We were writing really good songs. We were having a blast. Everything was catchy. Everything was clicking. Yeah. And we were like, you know what we should do? We should just be a Chicago band. Let's just do that. Let's just be a Chicago band. We don't need to tour. We don't need to, do all this stuff. Let's just get known in Chicago.
And that's probably the best experience you had, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And like, let's just play in Chicago and have fun. But what ended up happening is just before that started, that possibility, that's what our goal was. Our bass player / singer of the band, he is Canadian, and had been living here illegally basically for years.
Yeah.
But he married an American, but they didn't really do all the correct paperwork and everything. And he took her to Canada to visit family, and they wouldn't let him come back in the United States.
Oh man, that sucks.
Band over.
That
was it.
Sucks.
He couldn't come back for like years. It was years. He's back now. He became a citizen eventually. But yeah, it was a couple years that he couldn't come back, and the band was just done. That was it, Yeah. But I was going to say before is
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say before that is I lucked out with the other bands I was in because basically I was in bands that were doing pretty okay, but then a guy from a well-known band from California moved to Chicago, and he wanted to continue his band, but he needed basically new members.
Nice.
And so I got asked to be in one of his bands as a guitar player, backup singer, and then eventually I started playing bass in one of his other bands. And so he had like I think at that point, maybe 4 or 5 actual records out with record labels. So he was already signed to labels and all that stuff. And I just basically had to learn his songs and jump in. And then I helped write new records with him and stuff like that.
That's a good situation.
Yeah. And then eventually I went into some other band, same thing. They came from California and needed a guitar player. They were already signed.
That's great.
I never had to deal with like hoping we get signed. I just was lucky enough to get asked to be in a band that, so that was nice. But then we had to deal with the fact that, oh yeah, you guys got to have this record done by this time. They were promoting it by this time, and now you're going on tour, and that's just it gets crazy.
Yeah, well, like sometimes like with your illustrations, someone will hit you up and the money's right, and it's like you have 24 hours and we need this magazine cover, right? Yeah. Like I've had record labels approach me that way, like, look, we need another song. You have 48 hours, like we need you to write and record a whole song, and it's like, oh fuck, okay. And that's tough. I mean, that pressure's hard. And that's kind of how the band I'm in now, With Arms of the Sun, that's how it started. Was same thing, man. I had been through the pipeline because I'd worked as an engineer in LA. I'd worked under a bunch of producers. I'd been in the belly of the whole Hollywood beast. I moved back home. And it was the same thing. It was like, let's just make music for fun. And I didn't say, let's just be a Phoenix band, because that would be awful, because there's no music scene there. It was more like, it was more like, let's just make albums and put them on the internet. Because at the time, me and the Joes were podcasting anyway. We started our podcast at that time. That was like, 7 years ago. And we were, podcasting. We were hanging out every weekend at my house. I had this big spare bedroom that I'd made into a recording studio / podcasting room. So they would come over, and while we were podcasting and just having a blast, goofing off, telling dick jokes, our wives would like be barbecuing and stuff. And then afterward, we'd all eat together and hang out. And it was like a ritual, and it was fun and it was innocent. And then it got real shitty, once we started to succeed. That's when it started to be a pain in the ass, as always. As soon as the business gets involved, as soon as art and commerce collide, it becomes kind of a shit show. Because then you have a bunch of hands in the pot. You have a bunch of people that aren't creative telling you how to be creative. And it's just, it becomes this really awful situation. But now we're free of all that. We're completely independent again. We have the podcast. We started our own media company. We're putting out albums independently. We Kickstarter funded the last one. And we're writing for film. I mean, we got, life is good right now. And it's good because we're keeping everyone out. We have a manager.
Have your own freedom that way.
Yeah, we still have a manager, but we only have that just to deflect douchebags from calling me and emailing me about stuff. It all goes through him. We call him the douchebag manager. So like douchebags send emails to try to take advantage. He looks into their company and realizes they're douchebags and says, no, they're douchebags. And then he tells them we pass, and there's this little buffer between us. And that's worth giving him some money.
Yeah.
But that's it. Funny. Nobody else is involved. We do it all ourselves.
Yeah.
Everything,
That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, how is things with the movie industry? Like, what kind of stuff have you been working on? I mean, that's got to be kind of a completely different animal, though,
It is and it isn't. From being an engineer, I have a few friends that were composing back then that now write for Netflix and write for different Hulu and stuff like that. So I had some ins already with that. Right now, I'm in the process of building a new reel, and I'm writing a lot of stuff for indie video games and stuff like that. A lot of the work I've been finding lately comes from Instagram. People will find my stuff on there and reach out to me. Some of it is from people that were fans of the band. And then in addition to that, I'm with 2 different music libraries that I write for. And what that is basically you're writing cues, they're like a minute, 2 minutes long, like, a blues thing for 2 minutes, a Middle Eastern, jam thing, a Bollywood dance track. So I have like 300 of these.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, and they're hosted on different music libraries, and other people handle placing those for me. And I wouldn't say it's a great career. I mean, I'm not making great money doing that either. I mean, being a musician pays shit.
Yeah.
And then the art stuff I just do for fun, and that's actually how I found out about you. 2 reasons. I was podcasting more aggressively, where we were doubling up episodes. And I'm like, we need to start having guests again. And I was like, so we need to find people to be on our podcast that are interesting, that we want to talk to. And I had just I had a Schoolism subscription, and I had just done your portrait class and was working through the exercises. I was drawing like 50 eyes and 50 ears and stuff and trying to get better at drawing faces. And I was like, this dude's cool. I can tell he's like a rocker, like, because, the music you were listening to, stuff like that. I'm like, this guy's pretty tuned in. I'm like, I wonder if he would do a podcast. And then I saw that you had one. And I was like, oh, I bet he probably guessed the podcast. And that's why I reached out,
Yeah.
Which is great. I'm glad we're friends now. And it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, thank you. So are you, man.
Oh, thanks,
so are
brother.
you.
Thank you.
I listened to the podcast with Tom Fluharty, and you called me Darth Vader. You said, I think Jason might be Darth Vader. I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? I'm like the Dark Lord.
I called you Darth Vader because your stand-up is like shock stand-up. It's funny as fuck. Yeah. And I'm not going to even attempt to try to do it because I'm not very good at stand-up, and I don't want to butcher your jokes. But if you've seen Jason live, you know that his comedy is not for the faint of heart. It's wonderful, but it's dark. The dark side.
What's frustrating with this whole thing, and we should get into this, what's going on right now, but I was just like doing 2-3 nights a week and really having a good time.
I know,
and
man.
I've been writing so much of my material. I've got a lot more ideas that I've been working on, but I finally have like a pretty nice, new, solid, tight 4 or 5 minutes now.
Right.
And I was so, but now it's getting even better because now I'm like still
plenty of time to think about it.
I'm like working on it. So as soon as this is done, I'm going to be hitting the mics again.
Going to be crushing.
And
I thought about you when it started. I was like, fuck, man. Jason was finally out there. Like you had your little club circuit you were doing.
And the cool thing is I'm starting to make friends with the comics in Chicago, and it's really cool starting to see. It's a different perspective. Like because originally I thought comics were probably just cynical pricks that are just it's gonna be like, I right at the first few times I did it, I was nervous and I thinking they're just gonna make fun of you, they're gonna mock you, they're gonna be able to tell that you haven't done it very long, and there's all these voices and this pressure that you feel in your head, but then when you do it, it's like even if you don't do 100% the best, they still are like, hey man, nice set, man. Like you did it.
It's a good community.
Yeah. It's like once you're up there doing it, it's like an equal respect. Like, hey man, you have enough balls to actually go up there.
Yeah, dude, it is ballsy and it's vulnerable.
It's like a respect that you kind of share with each other. And so I've been starting to become friends with a bunch of the local guys and stuff. And it's really cool, man. It's cool, especially because you start going and you start making friends with these other comics, and then you're there to support them when they go up. You support them and you applaud and you laugh, and I've been learning too. I mean, it sounds obvious, but you go to some open mics and nobody laughs, and it's really disheartening because it's hard to perform in front of comics and make comics laugh. But there's a few places I've gone to now where it's like, it's really, really encouraging, and it's such a great atmosphere because it's like we all are trying to do this, and so people they actually pay attention, they listen to your material, and when it's funny, they laugh, because that's what it's about, and it's just really kind of interesting and been fun seeing that behind the scenes part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really cool.
I find that the stand-up community and the art community are kind, humble, and warm. It's more of the music world that we don't have a lot of musicians and actors on our podcast for that reason. Like I have a friend that's a publicist, and she was like, have so-and-so band on, I can book them. And I said no. And it was actually a pretty big band. But I said no because I had met those guys and they're assholes. And I was like, no, man, no, I'm not gonna, because the problem is they're going to come on and they're going to expect me to pander to them and kiss their ass. And it's like, no, I want to tell dick jokes. I want to be myself. Like, I'm not going to like make special accommodations for people. Whereas like artists and comedians push through the podcast all the time and we have a great time. We just chat about whatever, and it's funny and it's fun and people like it. So I don't even waste my time with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, there's definitely, I've met artists that are just like that, artists that
have you?
Oh yeah. Artists that I looked up to
That's
for
rough.
years, and then I met him in person. I'm like, wow, that guy's a total dick, man.
That's rough, man.
But it's funny. Like, there's this one comic who he's like a bigger comic in Chicago, and I'm gonna have him on my podcast and talk about the Chicago scene. Really cool guy, very funny, and I always love it when I'm on, doing my bit. I can hear him laughing. That always makes me feel good. Like I got him laughing.
Yeah, he's got that laugh.
And my last set. Well, okay, if I go back a couple weeks before, or a week before that one time, I start going into a Bill Cosby joke, and the whole crowd, as soon as I say Bill Cosby, everyone's like, "Oh no, 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 no!" And I heard that guy go, "No, don't do it, don't do it," and he's like, "Oh," and he goes, "Oh no, he's doing it," and I got them all. I got like people weren't into it. They're like, what is he gonna like? No, don't do it. As soon as I delivered my punch, the whole place blew up laughing, and it was such a great experience. I could hear him laughing really hard, and afterwards he's like, "Oh, you got me with that one. That was great." Well, the week after, same kind of thing happened, and I'm not gonna give away the joke, but I'll just give away the first part where I go, hey, guys and gals, you ever just find yourself thinking about boobs? And so that gets like a laugh. Then I go, yeah, I was thinking about boobs. And then I take it to this weird place really quick where everyone's like, so when I say ever find yourself like thinking about boobs, everyone's like, yeah, we love boobs. They're all clapping. And then I turn it to a place where they're in it was so good because everybody's going like, yeah, we love boobs. And then I turn it and they're like, oh wait, whoa. Like, what did you have me clapping for?
Dude, you got attacked on the internet for that Cosby bit.
Oh, I know. That's ridiculous.
That's something though that now you're moving from the art world to a more public thing with the comedy. You just got to embrace it. You're going to get haters.
I don't really mind. To be honest, I know it's a funny joke. And it every single time I do it, I get a huge hit reaction. Yeah. Kevin Nealon wrote me shortly after that and was like, "This is killer." He goes, "This is a really funny joke." He goes, "It's very smart and it's layered." And he goes, "You should add on to that." And I go, "Oh, I have way more." It's just I only get 4 minutes.
I was thinking that too. You could do 5 minutes just on that one bit.
Yeah, I have a bunch, but the thing is I only get 4 minutes. And so that joke, I have like a little bit of a setup, so I have to think about the timing. And I mean, I can't wait to the point where I get to have 10 minutes to do stuff, because I think that's what I'm looking. I have the material that I'm working on, but it's hard to get the time, So basically I have to keep doing what I'm doing, and until someone says, "Hey man, you want to do 5 minutes for this show?" or you know what I mean? So that's what I'm working towards. Because man, I love it, dude. It's so much fun. But let's talk about what the heck's going on, because I'm curious about what's going on in LA. I just found out when we started recording, I just found out from my buddy that, how did he word it?
That Gavin Newsom did
starting today, we're having a shelter in place lockdown starting today.
Just started.
Yeah. And so, what's really crazy. So the other night, I've got 3 daughters, and I've got number 4 coming along, and I was just thinking, like, I'm not one to like get too worried, about things, but my wife's pregnant. I want to be safe. So we already kind of did this lockdown thing already, where we're not going out very much. And we're kind of just trying, we go to the grocery store and get some supplies and whatever. So a couple of days ago though, I went, to Mariano's, which is a grocery store here, really nice grocery store.
Yeah.
And I figured this, and it's in Skokie, which is like the second largest grouping of aesthetic Jews in the whole world, next to Israel. Very Jewish, which in most of the store, like half the store is kosher. So it's like almost 2 grocery stores. There's like one inside of another one, basically.
Right.
And it's a very nice grocery store. So
I'd probably lean more towards the kosher food right now, to be honest.
Well, I went there because I thought, okay, this is going to be okay. It's going to be probably still okay. Yeah. I went there to get things. I mean, just empty shelves. The produce section completely gone. It was in shock. No soup, no bread, nothing. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So I got everything that I could get, and I was like, man, there's still a bunch of things my wife wanted me to get. I can't get them. So I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, there's actually a Jewel about a mile away the other direction. I'm going to go there. So I went to this other place. They actually had a lot of stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. Got the stuff I needed. I'm like, okay, I think we're good for, a week or so or more, actually. Right. I think we got enough things. Like, we got a lot of canned stuff. And then I had this idea in my head. There's a Target right next to it. And I go, I need to get myself a baseball bat.
You're going to go Negan?
And my thought process behind this was that Chicago, there's a lot of crazy people in Chicago, and there's a lot of gangs. There's a lot of poor people, and I started thinking, like, it wouldn't take much to break into my apartment. You know what I mean? My studio right here, it's like a glass door. Someone could just break in easily. Sure. And I started thinking, like, what if it escalates to a point where when it snows in Chicago, people lose their mind. They can't drive. Okay. What if this turns into something where it's actually not that big of a deal, but people are freaking out, just like how everyone went and bought all the toilet paper and everything? What if people start going crazy and becoming desperate and decide, oh, you know what? I want to see what those people have in their house. So I started thinking about this, and I'm like, you know what? I don't really have a way to protect my family. If someone tried to break into my house, I should have something. So I'm like, I'm going to go to Target. I'm going to buy a baseball bat. I'm going to get a metal one because that'll fuck some people up. And so I go into the sporting section, and they have a lot of baseball bats. I was surprised. I thought they were going to all be gone because I thought everyone's thinking the way I'm thinking. I go there, baseball bats. I'm like testing them out, swinging them and stuff. I'm like, oh, this one. I think this one will kill someone for sure. I got a nice tong to it, and as I'm holding it, I start thinking, is this ridiculous? I'm not going to buy a baseball bat. This is what am I thinking? This is crazy. And as I'm about to put it back, a voice in my head says, but Jason, what if people go crazy? You are in the city. You are in Rogers Park. What if people go crazy and you don't have the baseball bat? And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm getting a baseball bat. So.
Yeah.
This is my Corona bat.
It's your boomstick.
So this is me in Target with no shopping cart, no groceries, nothing.
Just scaring old people.
Got this over my shoulder, walking through the aisles in Target, and all the dudes are going, oh, we know why he's got that, right? And I have no other groceries. People have their carts full of things. I just have a baseball bat. And as I'm in line to check out, I'm holding the bat. And as I'm in line, this guy looks at me, like, he turns back and looks at me and he's like, and I go like this, I don't even play baseball. And he just kind of had a look on his face like that. And even after I bought it and I'm walking through the parking lot, I'm just kind of walking around like this. People are like, what the hell? It's like, they know. It's like, dude, you guys are going crazy about toilet paper.
I can't. You know what blows my mind about that story, dude? It's not that you bought the bat. I think buying the bat makes sense. It's that. See, I'm the guy that whenever I run out of lube, I try to reorder it on Amazon because I'm embarrassed to walk through CVS with a giant bottle of lube because, I mean, everyone knows it's like that guy's going to go jerk off, right? So I'm the guy that when I buy the lube in CVS, I walk past the, because it's a drugstore, I walk past the shampoo and the conditioner, and I just grab a shampoo and conditioner, maybe a Gatorade, and I set it down like, well, here's my items, and within those items is my sexy little secret. Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like if I was going to do that, I probably would have got a glove and like a softball and like a few other things.
I'm just like, nope.
But you just went, man, you just went for it.
I should have, like, I mean, too bad it wasn't a Home Depot too. I would have got some like barbed wire or whatever else.
Hilarious.
I thought about going to Home Depot and getting an axe. You know, we're in a Walking Dead this shit, man. Like, might as well go get like an axe, I mean, I'm telling you, if someone tries to, it's funny too, because my wife, she was like, I can't believe you got a baseball bat. And she's like, well, it doesn't make sense. And I go, hey,
but
listen.
she found it hot probably a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Apocalypse Daddy. I love this.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, I kind of feel like, hey, if nothing happens, good. I hope nothing happens. Right. But at least I have my Corona bat, and it'll forever be known as the Corona bat. And I think it's, like, I don't ever want to have to do any. I'm just thinking like literally, if I live if the neighborhood I used to live in, it's a mile and a half towards the lake from here. I would not want to be living there right now. I guarantee you, it's so dangerous.
Yeah, I'm outside of LA. I'm 45 minutes out of the main city, so I feel the same though. I think the funny plot twist of that story will be in 10 years if your daughter that's about to be born gets into sports and she ends up using that bat. That'd be hilarious. Take Dad's Corona bat.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't have any stains on it,
Yeah. It's funny, and not to get too serious, but so I see a therapist for anxiety, and I have for probably a couple years. And so we did a session yesterday via video chat because he's an elderly man and he's not going into his office. Mm-hmm. He told me that fear and panic are just as contagious right now as the virus.
Oh, for sure.
And that kind of resonated with me because I've seen that. I've seen a lot of fear. I've seen a lot of panic.
Yeah, my whole thing, like I didn't get the baseball bat because I'm afraid. I got it because I'm a dad I have a lot of daughters.
4 daughters, man.
I have a pregnant wife, and I'm like, no one's fucking with the Seiler household. I'm sorry.
I don't blame you.
Not happening. I mean, and the thing is like, I live in a pretty decent neighborhood. I'm not too worried, to be honest, but at the same time, it's a little alarming when you go to 5 different stores and they're all empty, and people are acting crazy.
So my mom is a nurse practitioner, and so she's still working. And like I said, my wife's a doc; they're still working. At my mom's work, the cashier got in a fist fight with somebody. People are fighting over stuff already, and we're on trend we're on trend with Italy. We've actually surpassed where they were at the point in the curve. So I would think, and there's no way to know. So I'm not going to spread disinfo, but it could be a few months until this peaks. So I always look at it that way. Like, how prepared can I be now? So where in a month or 2, I can really just not leave the house and not have to worry about this. Like, we have fruit trees. I grow my own vegetables. I have egg-laying hens in my backyard. Like, worst comes to worst, we're probably okay. So if it really got shitty, I don't even think we'd leave the house. We would just stay inside. Yeah.
That's kind of what we're doing right now, is just not, I heard there's a comedian that I follow in LA, and he was posting on was it Instagram? Let me see, because people can look at this. Let me just find it really quick. And I was going to ask you about this because it seems crazy. So his name is Michael Inoue. And do you know who he is? He's hilarious. I know who he is. Yeah, it's funny. But he like opens for Crystalia a lot. But he has a post about it just says, I just panicked. He went to a Ralph's in LA, and I guess the whole grocery store was locked down, and they were only letting a few people in the grocery store at a time. So he had to wait in this long line outside the grocery store. Yeah. They open the door, they let a few in, and then as you go in, they go 5 minutes, and they're like, "What?" And they have to like run through the grocery store almost like a game show thing. And
that's
he goes,
some Hunger Games shit, man.
Yeah, and then he's like 3 minutes until checkout, and like so people are just trying to get everything they can in 5 minutes, and then they have to get out so the next group comes in. And he says it was so stressful, and he doesn't know if he got the right things. It's like, holy crap, that's crazy.
I think this is a case in point. This is kind of an example for how unprepared our society was for something like this, because people are just making up shit for how to handle it. The store is probably like, how do we keep people from rioting? Well, we'll do this, and then we'll set a timer. But what they don't realize is, by
making more panic.
They're creating more panic.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's still people that think, oh, it's just a flu. It's not a big deal. And it's like,
those
well,
people, I don't know about those people.
it's like, dude, the flu hasn't overwhelmed hospitals the way that this is starting to. Like, we don't have enough hospital beds. We don't have enough. Like, the flu hasn't done that. You know what I mean?
That's the only thing that and I'll keep preaching this, and I took shit on the last podcast I did by saying this, but I'm going to say it on yours too. We don't want hospitals to reach capacity too soon. We don't want to run out of ventilators. That's a very bad idea. Yes, we're probably half of us are going to get it anyway. But the whole flattening the curve thing doesn't mean that you're preventing yourself from getting it per se. It means you're slowing the spread of it so where it doesn't spike so fucking fast that the hospitals run out of beds, because that's like a really bad scenario. So I would just say, if you think it's just a flu, that's cool, but just maybe stay home anyway. Be considerate of the whole community and just look at it as, all right, it's a flu. Look, you can make fun of everybody later. And think how awesome that'll be. You could be like, all right, I stayed home.
Well, it's crazy. Like the spring break people in Florida are still hanging out on the beaches.
Video.
Like what are they doing?
Karamo shared it from the Queer Eye show on Netflix. Karamo shared that video on his Instagram, and I was wigging out, dude. It was fucking, I couldn't believe it. Those kids are 18, 19. They're like, we're still going to party, you know. It's the Fertile Myrtle Beach. We're going to get down. Oh, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and that's the thing. The thing that, like, I'm not as worried. Like, I went to New York maybe a month or so ago. Maybe 2 months ago now. I don't even know. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But when I got back, I had the flu. It was just when this thing was really starting to, like, people, and I mean, I was thinking about the other day, like, well, maybe I had this and didn't realize it. I don't know. But, like, I had a terrible fever, to the point where I almost told my wife I should go to the emergency room, because I never felt like this before. I was just shaking, and I had the chills, and I was burning up, and I had the worst pounding headache every time I coughed. It was just like really painful. And it lasted a couple days, and then once it kind of, I started feeling better, it still felt about, like, for a week I kind of felt like I had been hit by a truck, you know?
Yeah.
And then my 2-year-old all of a sudden started burning up, and it was scary. She was like almost 105 temperature, and we took her to the children's emergency and everything, and they did a test.
Did they give her a flu test?
She had the flu. Yep.
She did. So
I had the flu, so she got that from me. So it wasn't the corona thing. But you know, the problem is so you might have this, you might not have effects, it might not affect you, it might not be as bad as it could be for other people. You're most likely going to be fine. But the thing that I don't think people are thinking about is there are so many people out there, like older people, that aren't going to be okay, you know?
Dude, I saw an interview of an old man that lived through the Depression, and they said, what's the difference between the Depression and this current epidemic? And he said, during the Depression, people helped each other.
Yeah.
It's pretty awful, you know, to think of where we're at.
I saw there was a family in the news yesterday, I think in Jersey, and they have 6 people in their family have it, and 3 of them have already died. I mean, you don't really hear that with the flu, okay? Yeah. So wake the fuck up. Just be smart.
Crazy. Yeah, you know, and even if you don't believe it, just stay home for the greater good of everybody. Yeah. You know, like, it doesn't hurt. Man, you know what bugs me about this is every motherfucker on Instagram and Facebook all year, all we see are these posts like, I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate this, I hate this. Now you have an opportunity to be at home. Just ride it out for a couple weeks. I mean, if it helps the greater good. Another guy said to me after our podcast,
I had nervous about checks coming in.
Yeah, I had and I get that, and I agree with that. I think it's on the government to figure out some sort of UBI, and it needs to happen like fucking yesterday. Yeah. UBI should already push through. Like, don't take your time. like typical politicians, get shit done. Because what you're going to have is you're going to have people fucking revolt if you don't help them through this.
And you think that Trump right now would want to do everything he can so he can get reelected again? You know what I mean?
And
like
I think it's both sides. I think both sides are just slowing it down. It's like, don't slow it down.
But that's what I'm saying is it's like you think Trump would be like more aggressive about it because he's like, hey guys, remember me? Remember how I helped you do this thing? You know?
He could. Yeah, that would be an easy way to get reelected. Pass UBI, give $1,000 a month to every adult in America that pays taxes and $500 per kid tax credit or $500 and watch how quick you'd get reelected. I mean, he should be, this should be his campaigning platform right now. It's a golden opportunity if he wants to be president for 4 more years.
I mean, I've heard that that's the plan. I mean, I saw a news article today, like something has been passed or whatever. We'll see if it happens, but I mean,
I hope it does. And not so much for me. I'm in a situation where I don't feel like I'm going to get hit as hard if we don't make money, especially since my wife still has to go to work. But for some people, like even Leary on our podcast, we got into it about that because he is in a position where he can't afford to miss 2 or 3 paychecks. He'll lose his ass, you know? So it's kind of like, well, what about me? What about people like me? And I get that. And that's why I think UBI is essential. And another thing that's been bothering me is I'm seeing people say, well, it already leveled out in China, so it's not really that big of a deal. Think of the situation, though. In China, they're using more draconian measures to keep people indoors. And by draconian, I mean, probably if you go outside when they tell you not to, you know, you might get shot. You know, so obviously they slowed their curve pretty damn good that way.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to, like, call out people in my family, but, you know, some people in my family don't think it's that big of a deal. And here's the thing. I agree, I understand, like, you know, as far as sometimes it does feel like it's being, you know, pushed over exaggerated a little bit. Just, you know, the hype of it and everything and the hysteria of it. And I agree with that. But at the same time, the virus is a real thing and it is affecting a lot of people and it's affecting our economy. All these different things are happening. But like my dad, I'm concerned and worried about him because he's got the shittiest lungs. He literally has 100% disability from when he was in the Navy. And they almost killed him. They OD'd him when he had pneumonia. And I don't know all the exact details 100%, but I think he was like internally bleeding or some crazy thing. But it scarred his lungs and he's got terrible lungs. And I was listening to the news today. This guy, it looks like he's 25, 26. And he was describing the virus. He has it. And he's a perfectly healthy 25, 26-year-old male, fit guy and everything. And he says, I'm getting over it now, but it feels like half my lungs are filled with liquid. I can't hardly breathe. Sometimes it was scary because I couldn't breathe and it was painful. All this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, dude, if my dad got that, he'd be fucking dead.
Yeah, my dad too. He had a triple bypass this year. There's no way he could handle that load on his lungs.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm worried about. It's just like I'm more worried about that. And like, you know, I have my grandmother is like 87 and you know, she's a frail little thing already. And it's like, oh man, just that's what I'm really worried about. But here's the other thing too that I think that's funny, or not even funny, but just crazy about the fact that there are people out there being, you know, some people are way too political about this, and it has to do with politics, and they're ignoring actually the science and facts of what's going on. It's like, oh no, this is actually just a ploy, you know, to help get Donald Trump to not be reelected and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, come on. But
that's what was pissing Joe B off is he feels like it's too political. It shouldn't be. It should just be a human issue, and he's right.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: is that, like, I can understand sometimes where some of that talk is coming from, but the whole world is being affected by this right now. Everybody, we're all dealing with the same thing. I mean, like just the other day, 500 people died in Italy in one day. I mean, this is like, I never hear that with the flu, never. You know what I mean? Like since when has a president ever shut down flights from Europe to the United States for 30 days? My daughters are out of school. I don't know what it's like for you, but my daughters are out of school until March 31st, and then
my kids are out until May.
Yeah, well, we just got a message yesterday saying now it's till April 21st, and it's probably going to go further than that.
Dang.
And so it's like this never happens with the flu. So you can keep saying what you want to say, but this isn't the same thing. Like
it's tough too, because we live in this era of disinformation where people share fake articles and this and that, to where when this hit, people just thought it was another one of those things. And it happened right during election times, which makes it even worse because there's tons of disinfo already spreading around where, you know, Bernie's getting bashed by this person and this person's bashing this person. And it just makes it really hard to sort through the information. And I think one of the most responsible celebrities during this whole thing was Rogan, because he immediately went and got a top fucking disease expert and had that guy on. But
then all the right wing people are like, oh, that guy, he's actually a fraud, and like right away all those articles. So it's the same thing. But yeah, I agree with you.
Happen. Yeah.
I listened to the guy with Rogan, and I was like, because to be honest, when this first couple weeks ago, I even made a joke video, because I wasn't taking it 100% serious. And this is the media's fault, because the media was going crazy. It was a little bit overboard, but my trip to Israel was canceled, and so I made a short.
I saw that video. Yeah.
I did a video where I was coughing and stuff, and a lot of people were concerned for me and thought I was really sick, and I was like, it's called acting. I was acting like I was sick, and at the very end, I said, I should have never got that bottle of Corona when I was in Chinatown. It's a joke, right?
Yeah.
But now it doesn't.
But you do comedy though. It's a comedian's responsibility to make a joke even out of terrible things. Yeah. I mean, you could arguably say that's what got people through 9/11 and stuff, is people making jokes about that stuff. It's important. It's part of our culture. You know, laughter helps you move on. You know, so
yeah. That's, I mean, but it's just kind of crazy, because when I did that video, and I was bummed that my trip to Israel was canceled. But now I'm like, because at first I thought Israel was overreacting, because they shut things down quick there, man. They went, but it seemed like so extreme. But now looking back, I'm like, whoa, they were way ahead of the curve. They knew what they were doing, and I was just, you know, ignorant guy in Chicago walking my dog.
Yeah, they shut down probably the quickest. Like, I was talking earlier about music libraries that I composed for. One of the main ones is in Israel, and they shut down immediately. You know, I got an email. It was like, offices are closed. I was like, really, already? You know, but it's just how it's going to be, and this is going to change things. I think, you know, this is going to change our country a little bit. You know, but we'll see. It's so hard, man. We need data. We need more testing. We need data. It's so hard to predict.
There's some people that think this is the end times.
I don't know about that.
We're gonna all get the mark of the beast real soon, my friend.
Oh, you know,
this is the perfect setup. This is the setup for the new world order.
I had a Jesus guy troll me after our coronavirus episode. He wrote me a message about that. About how, you know, if I wanted to buck up and surrender my soul or whatever, you know, I'd be saved like he's going to.
You should have asked him why did Jesus create the coronavirus, and why is he letting everyone have it?
That's what you would have asked him, because you're not.
Yeah, well, I would have said, hey, this is what I want to say to all those people out there who are you know, being faithful about this. Okay, so listen up. You can't say God is all-knowing and all-powerful, omniscient, loving being, and then not give him credit for the coronavirus or for tsunamis or anything else. Because basically what you're saying is he's not powerful enough to stop tsunamis. He's not powerful enough to stop coronavirus. Well, then he's a weak-ass God. He's like, oh, that's not the way God works. You can't put God in a box. Okay, listen. Either he has the power to do this or he doesn't. If he doesn't have the power, that means he's a weak God and he can't really do anything about it. So praying, God, please help me from the coronavirus, doesn't make sense. Because if you believe he's all powerful, all knowing everything, that means he made the coronavirus. Okay? He created everything.
I think from a spiritual standpoint, if prayer makes you feel better about it, pray. But don't be silly. Don't be silly and be a dick. And also, even though churches are protected under the amendment and the Constitution, where they technically don't have to close like everyone else right now, just do the right thing and close.
And that's actually where I was going with that. Is people are they're filling churches up to pray. You're not supposed to be in groups of more than 10 for one. Okay, you can pray from home. And if it makes you feel better to pray, that's fine. I have nothing against that. But I find it very hypocritical and weird because it's like, hey, listen, is your God all powerful or not? If he is, why don't you ask him why he's doing this? All right. Or he's not there. I mean, that's the other option. Maybe you could think about that. But the thing is like, I just find it very interesting how that aspect of it, I always find it ironic. This is something that a friend of mine sent me the other day, which I just love, and it's Ricky Gervais. I'm not sure if Ricky wrote this or if he told this, but Ricky shared a post or something, and I'm not sure if he wrote it or not. But he said an old Jewish man who survived the Holocaust died, and when he went to heaven, he went up to God and he told God a joke about the Holocaust. And God said to him, "Hey, that's not funny." And the old man said, "Well, I guess you had to be there."
Oh, man. Wow.
So just think on that for a little bit and what that means, because that's a heavy, real point.
That's why I called you the Darth Vader of comedy, though, because you're not afraid to go there. You're not afraid to go there.
Well, it's just like, come on, man. Like, here's the thing. Here's another thing. I've been writing a lot about this kind of stuff because I'm just trying to get my thoughts out and think about this. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. If you love Jesus and you believe in all that and you are all out, whatever, that's fine. Okay, just keep it out of politics. Keep it in your home. I don't think you should force your children to have a religious viewpoint or world view until they're old enough to decide themselves. But
I would agree with that. I think kids should study philosophy a bit before they get attached to one thing.
Like my biggest thing is I hate Ash Wednesday. I hate putting ash on a child's forehead and saying that you were born a sinner and you and this is a symbolism of this and whatever else. And there's a lot more to it than that. I'm just breaking it down.
From a psychological standpoint, it's not healthy. Probably.
I don't think it's
tell a child that.
I'm very much against telling a child that they were born a sinner. They're not born sinners. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, they're born pretty awesome compared to the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly. But my point that I was going with that was I've been writing a lot of different things, and I was just thinking about the other day, like I'm trying to like write some bits about the corona stuff, and part of it I'm gonna do my baseball bat thing in there and whatever else, but like
you should bring the bat, dude, and tell that story. That is gold. No, that is gold. I was gonna tell you that after the podcast, but since you brought it up, that needs to be in your bit. That needs to be in your 5 minutes.
But I was just thinking, like, and again, if you believe and you've got your faith, that's fine. So this is just my thoughts on this, okay? But I was told recently that it's not nice to mock people that believe in God, or and to a certain extent, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, and so, but what I'm doing is I'm just talking about facts. Or not even just facts, but just thinking. There's nothing wrong with asking these questions and thinking about things. And I was thinking, like, you're 40.
What you're doing is you're using what's called the Socratic method with people.
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm assuming
the Socratic method, essentially in philosophy, someone would say, "I believe this." Well, why? Well, blah blah blah. Well, what about this? Blah blah blah. Well, what about that?
Yeah.
And you force people to think through their own logic. And the hope is that even if someone doesn't change, that maybe you guys meet somewhere here in the middle through using the Socratic method to kind of find a common ground.
For sure.
In the old days, that's how they hash shit out.
Yeah. And see, this, I think that is a perfectly healthy and smart way to talk about things. And I was thinking, and you're like 40 or almost 40. And I was thinking, like, so if you told me in all seriousness that you, Josh, believe in Santa Claus, The whole thing. You believe that fucker lives up in the North Pole. He's got elves. He actually has a list to check if you've been naughty or nice. He has reindeer that can fly. All the kind of everything that goes with that story, you believe it 100%. I don't think anybody would find it strange if I made fun of you.
Right.
If I mocked you.
What's hard for me,
even in jest though, you know,
right.
like come on, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even saying like as like a jerk, like you stupid idiot. That's not what I mean. I mean, but people would be like, that's pretty normal for Jace to be like, seriously, dude, you seriously believe in Santa Claus? Now, what I'm saying is, what's the difference?
Right. See, I have a hard time in general with this kind of stuff because when I was younger, I was obsessed with philosophy and world religion, and I studied it deep for 10 years. In fact, we just had my old philosophy professor on our podcast, Nick Mather.
Oh yeah, you told me about that. Yeah,
he's a genius. But the thing is, when you study that stuff for so long and you go down that rabbit hole, you finally end up right back where you started, which is that you don't know anything. And I'm kind of at that place in my life where I know that I know nothing and I'm okay with it. So when people are super convicted to something that they believe, and take religion out of it, it could be anything. I tend to be like, well, have you tested that thought process? Have you thought this through? Have you questioned all the ins and outs? Are there holes in it? I guess in philosophy, they call it the center. They say, does the center hold? So for me, it's like whenever I hear someone say, well, I believe this, in my head, I think, does the center hold? To you, it does, but people tend to have these. People tend to have these blinders, right? And these kind of look like antlers because reindeer are real. Santa, they have these blinders like this, right? And everything that you say to them that they believe is inside of these blinders, and everything else pops outside of them. And by studying religion and studying philosophy, those blinders go from this to this, so you're a lot more open. Yeah. To hearing what people have to say.
See, and that's the thing is like, it's funny because I get people they call me an atheist. I've been called a militant atheist. The thing is, I don't call myself those things at all. Like I'm just a person. I'm a free thinker. I don't really label what kind of what my belief system is. My whole thing is pretty simple. I grew up very hardcore religious and Christian, and for myself, I got to a certain point in my life where I'm like, yeah, that's bullshit. And I started studying in Christianity a lot. I started studying the scriptures. I started studying where it came from, how it was written, who actually wrote it.
That's actually when a lot of people quit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when I feel like I like to use Christian terms and say that's when I was born again. And that's when I became a true believer in reality. And I realized, a lot of different things. And here's the thing, that's just me. That's my journey with it. I'm not the kind of person that says there is no God. I think it's very unlikely. And I can explain to myself why I believe it's very unlikely. But I also have beliefs that I feel very strongly about, that if there was one, I could tell you for sure which one it's not. And it's pretty much not any of the ones that you guys think it is. And the reason I know that is I can study the scriptures and learn about who they say this person is or this God is, and it doesn't fit anything that makes any sense. And for me, my whole way of thinking about it is this: is there convincing evidence? And I'm just not convinced that there is. And that's me personally. And like, so I can't believe, like, you can't force someone. You know what I mean?
Don't eat mushrooms. That'll really fuck you up.
Yeah. I got a buddy that wants me to try it, but like it's like one of those things where it's like, even that, I always feel that I always hear people talking about the mushrooms, and to me that's also not convincing because you're just tripping yourself out. But I do want to experience that sometime. It'd be kind of interesting. But what I'm trying to say though is like, I don't label myself that way. Whereas, whereas a Christian will say, no, there is a God. And I label myself as I believe this and only this is right and everything else is wrong. That's the opposite of me. I'm more like open-minded, free thinking, where I'm like, no, I don't know. Okay, you say you know how things happen and you know who God is and you know that. I don't know that. I don't know it at all, and I don't think you do either. But you're too afraid to admit it. I don't know why things are the way they are, how it happened, but I'm open to exploring and learning that. And I'm not going to have the God of the gaps philosophy where if you don't understand what it is, well, God did it. Like, to me, that's just dumb and it doesn't make sense. Like, I want to explore, I want to understand and learn, and not just, if I don't get it, just put God glasses on and everything's taken care of.
I understand where you're coming from. I'm in a similar headspace. Like I said, I know that I don't know anything, and I'm comfortable with that. I believe that it is possible that there's a God. Although, I wouldn't want to even label it. I wouldn't want to call it Jesus or that. I think that's almost insulting. I almost think that if there is a God that's that omnipotent and that greater than our existence, we're not probably supposed to even understand it. So I think to label it is almost insulting to what a God would be.
And to me, that makes more sense. What you just said makes way more sense. And that's all I'm really trying to say. Like, I'm not like,
And I also like, so not to deduce people's God, but I'll also say I have the same belief about aliens. Like, people that are fans of the band know that I collect alien stuff. Like, when I'm on tour, if I see a cool little alien statue at a road stop, I buy it. I like that stuff. I like UFO stuff. But that said, I haven't seen an alien. And I'm not going to put on alien glasses either and say I have faith that just because I haven't seen them, they're just hanging out.
Well,
can
I just like interrupt for a second? I personally believe your alien thing that they're in, and I'm going to piss people off. You believing that there's a possibility of aliens and that aliens could exist is more believable than a dude walking on water or pregnant virgins.
Unless they're an intertwined story, we don't know. Yes,
but
there are aliens involved.
But what I'm trying to say is this: there are billions of planets out there that are very similar to Earth, which means they have the similar possibilities of having, the oxygen and everything else, blah blah blah. There are a lot of other flat Earths out there. But my point is it's more likely that there are aliens and intelligent life out there than
your logic.
Than these mythical stories that some people believe in.
The thing with the aliens thing too is some of the leading cosmologists, quantum physicists, and people in that field say that they believe that it's possible. So I'll take their word for it. They're much smarter than I am.
Just think about the math, though.
Right. Yeah. Similar to how when we mentioned the corona thing, I take the doctor's advice and the experts in that field. I think we've gotten to this point as a society where nobody wants to, I don't know if it's lack of humility or ego, but people don't want to trust people that are more educated than them in something. I've even seen it with music. It's why music sucks so bad. People stop going to people that are talented to show them what they're doing wrong. There used to be this kind of apprentice mindset, like the noble samurai that wanted to go and live on the hill and meditate for years to one day become a master. And people get things so soon now and with such instant gratification that nobody wants to master anything anymore. And that scares me even more than the religion thing. But how that plays into that anyway is that these people are masters. Someone that studied quantum physics and has a PhD, if they say it's likely, it's probably fucking likely. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas the people that are touting out the religious stuff to me,
well,
I don't. Where's the education?
Neil deGrasse Tyson said that I can't remember. He goes, "There's a very small percentage of planets out there, very small percentage, that have the possibility of having life, just like Earth." And he said, the number. That is the small number I'm talking about is 2 billion. So that's compared to how many planets and stars and everything else, that is a small amount, but 2 billion. Now you're going to tell me there's 2 billion other Earth-like planets out there, and we're the only one that has life? Give me a break.
Wouldn't it be great if they came now? I mean, come on, it's perfect timing.
Maybe they did it. But like, here's the thing. Again, like if religion and God and everything gives you peace and helps you to sleep better at night and you actually feel like it helps you be a better person, that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. I personally just have a hard time because I have way too many questions. Like I have way too many questions because a lot of it doesn't make sense. And so the reason I believe what I believe is because I've asked the questions, and there's a lot of them. And I just feel like that's just the way it has to be for me. That's my path. I can't do anything about that.
I think for your personality too, getting to know you as much as I have, you have that kind of always a student philosophy that you go by anyways. You seem to be the type that always wants to learn and grow. So It's probably not just religion that triggers you with that stuff. It's also probably people in general that choose to not evolve in what their field is. Because I've noticed, like, I've followed your art for a while, and I will say I do consider you a master artist, but I feel as if you that you're still learning yourself and that you're continuing to grow, Yeah. And I think that personality, it's tough to be around people that don't want to evolve.
Yeah, it's hard for me. And also, I have my story with religion is different than a lot of people's, and it's too much to get into right now. But
I grew up in a Christian cult, for the record. Like, no joke. I went to a Christian church that was very cult-like. We didn't celebrate Halloween. We talked about it with you once.
Yeah. Very similar.
Yeah, I had a very tough go with that stuff. Like I said, I lived in a bumfuck hillbilly town where everybody believed that, and I'd see these same people in church that had signs on their lawn that said, "If any black people are here after dark, they'll be killed." So I was constantly questioning this. Yeah. I was like, wait, if people believe this, and I'm not equating the two. I'm not saying that all Christian people are racist, but I'm saying where I lived, they sure were. And so it's tough when you grow up around that.
I have Christian friends that are some of the best people in the world.
The guy that manages our band is a friend of mine who is also Christian.
Yeah.
But he's the most open-minded Christian you've ever met in your life. Yeah. And he's also studied philosophy for like a decade. He's a brilliant man.
Yeah.
And he's very easy to be around. And he would never. In fact, you might want to have him on your podcast. You'd enjoy talking to him about it.
Oh yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, again, like, I think that here you want to know the thing that bothers me though is that, like, again, like I said before, this, if it brings you peace and it does this and this and this and it helps you be a better person, but the thing that bothers me is the religious Christian type people who believe that you can't be moral, that you can't be good unless you have this, which is ridiculous because I personally find the Bible to be a very immoral book on many, many, many issues. And I don't need that to be a moral good person. And I find that if you think that you can't be a good person unless you have that's a little scary. You know what I mean? I've heard religious people say that, oh, if I didn't have God or if I didn't believe that this was real, what's to stop me from killing or raping people? It's like, what are you serious? What's to stop you from doing that? You think that
maybe don't let that person around your daughters, my friend.
Exactly. But
I would think that someone like that has a bigger issue outside of religion.
No, but this isn't just like a person. I've heard this so much. I've heard it a lot. And that's the thing that bothers me because you don't need it. You don't need that, religion to be a moral person at all. It's ridiculous. In fact, most moral people that I know of, are atheists, basically, or whatever you want to call them, floaters. We don't believe in nothing. We believe in nothing. I love that. So you just believe in nothing? Yeah, I just believe in nothing. So stupid.
It's a crazy rabbit hole, man. When you start studying religion and You know, I was I won't say fortunate, maybe unfortunate enough. I even got to go to the Celebrity Center in Hollywood when I lived there, to the Scientology thing, and hear what kind of wacky stuff they believe. I went to a high school that was mostly Mormon, so I got to hear all the wacky stuff they believe. I went to a recording
fun
school.
though?
Yes, it is, and I worked in a recording studio with a devout Muslim and got to hear some stuff. You know, he believed there was a sneezing demon, that whenever you sneeze, you're sneezing out a demon. So there's actually
I love that.
the common denominator is that everybody thinks they know. Instead of how it should be is everyone should know that they don't know, and we get along a little better. And same with the Corona thing. You don't want to stay inside. You don't believe it's real. That's fine. Let's just admit that we all don't know. Then I'll raise my hand as someone that is going to stay inside and listen to the experts no matter what, and still say that I don't know. I don't know. It could be a hoax. Fuck, I don't know. Doesn't mean I'm going to test it. Doesn't mean I'm going to go out and get sneezed on. Touching hands is the new ass to mouth, man.
Yeah.
Don't fucking come near me.
You gotta do the elbow bump. Well, I have to actually leave in a little bit because I'm going to go and pick up my daughter. I have her for the weekend, so we've been talking for an hour and a half, which is awesome. This has been a really fun. It's been a great talk.
You can have me anytime, man. I'm a good filler. Throw me in.
Yeah, I love it, man. But guess what? This is so cool, and I want to thank all my fans and people that support this. We decided basically yesterday or the day before that we were going to do this, and I was like, you know what, probably not going to be able to have fan art because it's not enough time. But then we're like, you know what, might as well give it a shot. So I did a post yesterday, and I think I got like 7 or 8 fan drawings. So
you're kidding me?
Yeah,
of me?
Yep, of you.
Oh God, you motherfuckers must be bored. Thank the coronavirus for that. Holy shit.
Some good things come from the coronavirus.
Some good things come from you guys being trapped inside. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'm going to share with you some drawings. So tell me when you see this. I had this open already, so I don't know why. It must have closed somehow.
Oh my God. Awesome.
Isn't that awesome? So this is by Jack Lemonier.
Jack Lemonier?
Lemonier.
I have to follow all these people on Instagram.
Yeah. Can you say it like that? Jacques Lemonier.
Jacques Lemonier.
Jacques Lemonier.
Jacques Lemonier.
Yeah.
Is he French?
I believe so.
God, I love
Jacques. It's my favorite name ever.
He caught my sad eyes. Yeah. Like that's how I feel being a father. He captured me being a father. Like I look sad. I look like I'm home with 2 kids right now. They're fighting each other, playing my tiny guitar. He nailed it. Nailed it.
I love it. He's got a really nice drawing technique. It's really cool.
Yeah, dude, that is cool. I wish I could draw like that.
It's awesome. Here's a good one for you.
Look a little stoic in that one.
Yeah. This is by Ray Shipman.
Oh man, Ray. That is super good. I'm honored, man. That's wonderful. I love that. I like how everyone picks up on the fact that I have chipmunk cheeks. My wife says that too. I love it. My beady little eyes. Oh my God, look at that. I'm looking kind of tough in that one. I kind of feel like some of my friends that do MMA in that one. Wow. I would not fuck with that version of me.
No.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Oh, this is by Dominic.
Dominic
Zollinger, by the way, did this one.
That's like kind of like graphic-y.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
Badass. I like that.
Dominic did this one, and the first one was done by Jacques Lemonier.
Oh, that is money.
Yeah, this is by.
Oh, they put my cat Jaggy in it.
Yeah. What is? Oh, Christophe. Misat.
Oh,
Christophe.
Christophe, I would buy that. You need to contact me on Instagram. I'll pay you for that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh wow, I love that. What is that? You're the art man. Is that pastels?
To me, this looks like it's tone paper, and it looks like a ballpoint pen. And then I don't know if it's like some marker or watercolor in there, something like that.
What a cool style, man.
So,
yeah, that's legit. I love that.
here's
Whoa.
another one for this is by Walid Shahab.
I look very gay in this one. I like it. This is very, this is very captured my feminine side. And the irony is, and there's no way this person could have known this unless they follow me on my Instagram. I am a huge tea drinker at night. Everyone makes fun of me because I have a literally right now in my cabinet 50 boxes of sleepy time tea because I have really, really hyperactive imagination and I can't sleep at night. And I put 6 bags of that in a cup with hot water and I drink it to knock me out at night because I don't want to drink alcohol. Yeah.
Oh, I just drink wine at night.
It's me with I can't drink wine. Me and wine don't get along. Plus I'm on heart medicine now, so
well, drink your sleepy tea then.
I gotta stick to meth.
Yeah. Can't have wine, so I started using meth. Started chewing on the
hey, that's a good homeschool thing, right?
Blue
People
ice,
teach their parents to make meth in their bathtub.
Yeah, you can make some money while you survive the apocalypse.
We're gonna Breaking Bad this bit.
This is by Juan Gastelum.
That's hilarious.
And I think he did 2, so I shared them both. So this is the first one.
He must have went on my Instagram because there was a whole thing about me being old and learning how to skateboard again because I hadn't skateboarded. Either that or he's just a fucking he's like the Nostradamus of caricature.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He learned at last, it said.
Dude, I look like skateboard Jesus. I love that.
Here's another one that's by the same artist. This goes along with what you were saying. My sad eyes. I'm like stuck at home. Look at your little biscuit and your tea.
He fucking nailed it. Yeah, that's me right now. Even the tears, dude. Stuck home with my kids. Wow.
The little cat ears in the background, the palm tree. It's pretty funny.
That's perfect.
That's hilarious.
Do people get offended when people do this?
Some people have been like, "Nah, that's not me." You know.
Oh no, that's me. This is one of the greatest moments of my life right here. I'm loving this.
Oh man, awesome.
That's amazing. Back? That's amazing.
Cool. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, cool. Awesome, man. I'm glad you liked it. But like I said, thank you so much for everybody that was last minute. So that's really cool. Really appreciate that. And I hope that everyone enjoyed this talk because I had a really good time talking. We went all over the place. We had a good.
That's what always happens when we talk, though.
I love it. I love it.
Wait, you're gonna be? Did they cancel Lightbox? Is that still happening?
I have no idea if it's been canceled.
I was planning to go hang out with you.
Yeah. Well, my thing with Lightbox is this: I really want to go, but I don't know. I'm thinking about whether or not it makes sense for me to go this year, just because I'm gonna have a newborn baby, and I'm sort of feeling like I can't leave my wife alone with a toddler and a baby for a while. Like that's just kind of and then it just gets too expensive to fly them both. Fly them there, and it's just like I'm just trying to think about if it makes sense this year for me to go or not. So I don't know. So we'll see.
Oh, we got to get our boy Marco Bucci to come on the podcast with you at the same time.
Oh, that'd be fun, man.
I talked to Marco about that. I think that would be pretty fun.
Oh, I would.
He's holed up in Canada. We joke with him and we told him that he's a doomsday prepper because he lives out in the middle of nowhere and that he has alligators and a moat and shit. So I've been fucking with him about it on Facebook right now.
I haven't seen him for years. I love that guy. He's awesome. Funny. Super talented dude.
Yeah, he's a legit artist.
I told you about how I hung out. I stayed at his house once, and him and all of his artist friends were, work for the Backyardigans.
Yeah,
which is like a super kiddie show, like super kid friendly, and like, it's a great show. My kids loved it, but all the artists came over to his place to do to watch the UFC.
Yeah.
a fight, and I just thought it was the funniest thing that the Backyardigans artists are all like, "Rip his fucking head off!"
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, "Oh, and here, by the way, here's a poster of Backyardigans that we all signed for your daughter." I'm like, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah, Bucci talked to us about UFC because he knew that I did jiu-jitsu at one point, and we were talking about it. Yeah, I was surprised that he was like an MMA guy when we talked. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I'm pretty weak. I'm pretty meek these days. I'm gonna have to go get 2 bats.
Awesome. Well, before we end this, is there anything that you want to direct people towards, your gram and just links or anything where people can find your music or any of that good stuff?
Well, I will say first, I don't want to gloss over artists that took the time to give me some of your energy and draw me. Thank you so much. I love you guys. If you put that on Instagram, tag me in it. I'll share it. You know, the dude that did that color one hit me up. I'll buy that. Follow us on Instagram. It's With Our Arms to the Sun. So at With Our Arms to the Sun. Our Twitch channel is www.twitch.tv/WoatsMedia. That's WOATTSMEDIA. Our Twitch channel, we have weekly. I do video game composing there live. We have the podcast, which Jason's been on twice now. Probably many more times over the years as we grow old. It'll be funny. Yeah, so follow that. And you can follow me on Instagram too. It's just at Josh Breckenridge. If you don't put an underscore between Josh and Breckenridge, you get the Broadway actor who I actually know, Josh Breckenridge, who's a really, really good-looking African-American man that's on Broadway. So if you see his picture, you'll know it's probably not me. So just put the underscore in and you'll find me. But yeah, I don't know. Just follow me if you want to. If not, don't. It's fine.
All right.
Oh, and I will say this, guys, be compassionate. If you have elderly people in your neighborhood, they don't know how to use Instacart and Grubhub, man. Just approach them from a distance, 6 to 12 feet, preferably, and just say, hey, just so you know, I live in the neighborhood. If you need anything, I can get it for you. Please let me know. I'll gladly do it. We've been doing that with the elderly people around here. It's definitely the way to go because they are really the people that this really affects. I know you think because you can't go out with your friends to fucking In-N-Out Burger that it's a tragedy. It's actually not. You're being a big pussy. It's actually really hard on old people, though. So if you see them,
that's the truth.
Extend some compassion. That's all. Be compassionate. Be with love. We're going to get through this. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
For sure. And thank you so much, Josh, for joining me on this. This was really cool. I have to go pick up my daughter. So everybody, in case I don't see you, you know the line. In case I don't see you, good afternoon.
Face the truth.
No. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Good night.
All right, love you guys. Stay safe. Right. Be well.
Take care, brother.
You want answers? Truth.